Right now, beneath your feet, there's a war happening. Predators are hunting, cities are being built, farmers are tending their crops, and you have no idea it's even going on. Your garden isn't just soil and plants, it's a battlefield, a metropolis, an entire hidden civilization of creatures so small, most people walk past them every single day without noticing. Some of them can jump 100 times their own height, others can survive being frozen solid, and a few are so bizarre they look like they came from another planet. In this video, I'm going to show you 15 tiny animals living in your garden that you never knew existed, and I promise you'll never look at your backyard the same way again. Springtails are tiny arthropods. They're so tiny that most people don't even realize they're alive. They're only about 1 to 6 millimeters long, basically the size of a pinhead. You've probably seen them before and thought they were just little bits of dirt or dust. But here's the wild part. Springtails have a special body part under their belly called a furcula. It works like a tiny spring or catapult. When they get scared, they release it, and it launches them into the air so fast that if a human tried it, we'd probably explode. A springtail can jump more than 100 times its own body length. For us, that would be like jumping over a 30-story building in one go. And the craziest part? They're everywhere. If you grab a handful of garden soil, there could be thousands of springtails in it. In just 1 square meter of your garden, there might be 10,000 to 100,000 of them. You've probably touched a whole crowd of them without ever noticing. So why don't people see them? Easy. They're tiny, they move super fast, and they like to hide in places you don't normally look, deep in the soil, under leaves, or inside rotting wood. Springtails spend their whole lives cleaning up the mess we don't see. They eat tiny things like fungi, bacteria, and bits of dead plants. Basically, they're the garden's cleanup crew. Without them, all the dead leaves and rotting plants in your yard would pile up until the soil couldn't breathe anymore. And here's something crazy. Springtails can survive being frozen solid. Scientists have actually found them living in the ice of Antarctica. When it gets too cold, their bodies make a natural antifreeze that stops ice crystals from forming inside them. Then, when things warm up again, they just thaw out and go right back to cleaning like nothing happened. So next time you water your plants and you see tiny dots bouncing around the soil, yeah, those are springtails doing their job. Now let's meet the little armored tank hiding in your garden, the woodlouse. Some people call them pill bugs, roly-polies, or potato bugs. They're those small gray creatures about the size of a grain of rice with bodies that look like tiny armadillos. Their shells are made of layered plates that protect the soft parts underneath. And just like armadillos, they have a smart trick to stay safe. When something scares them, they curl up into a perfect ball. Their hard shell covers everything important, so most predators can't bite them. But here's the part almost nobody knows. Woodlice aren't insects at all. They're crustaceans, which means they're actually closer to crabs and lobsters than to ants or beetles. Yep, you basically have tiny land crabs crawling around your garden. So why do woodlice even live in your garden? Because your garden is basically their all-you-can-eat buffet. They eat dead plants, old leaves, rotting wood, fungi, pretty much anything that's breaking down. They're also nature's cleanup crew, turning all that dead stuff back into healthy soil. Similar thing with springtail. They're also picky about where they hang out. Woodlice breathe through gills, just like their crab relatives, so they need moisture to stay alive. That's why you always find them under rocks, logs, flower pots, or anything dark and damp. If it's cool and wet, they're there. And for such tiny creatures, they actually live a long time, about 2 to 3 years. The coolest part? Female woodlice keep their eggs in a little pouch on their belly, almost like a tiny kangaroo pocket. When the babies hatch, they stay in the pouch for weeks before heading out on their own. So the next time you lift a rock and dozens of gray pill bugs run everywhere, don't freak out. They're harmless. They're just trying to stay wet, hidden, and safe. Ground beetles are the predators most people never see because they only come out after dark. These beetles vary in size, but most are between 10 and 30 millimeters long. They're usually black or dark brown with a hard, shiny exoskeleton. Some species have metallic green or blue coloring that shimmers in the light. And they're fast, incredibly fast. Some species can run up to 9 kilometers per hour, which might not sound impressive until you realize that's 50 times their body length per second. If a human could move that fast relative to their size, you'd be running at 270 kilometers per hour. So what do they eat? Well, they eat other insects like slugs, snails, caterpillars, aphids. They actually just eat anything smaller and slower than them. Ground beetles are carnivorous hunters with powerful mandibles that can crush through the exoskeletons of their prey. They also don't wait for food to come to them. They actively hunt. They patrol the soil surface, under leaves, around plant stems, searching for their next meal. They're nocturnal, so they do most of their hunting at night when other insects are less active. Ground beetles can live for 2 to 3 years, which is unusually long for an insect. And here's a surprising fact. Some ground beetles can spray a boiling hot chemical from their abdomen when threatened. Bombardier beetles, a type of ground beetle, can heat this chemical to 100 degrees Celsius and spray it with pinpoint accuracy at predators. If you have ground beetles in your garden, you have free 24-hour pest control. A single ground beetle can eat hundreds of pests in one season. They're one of the most effective natural pest controllers in your garden. You already know ants. Everyone does. But most people have no idea what they're doing under their garden. Ants are tiny, usually between 1 and 15 millimeters long, with skinny waists, bendy antennae, and 6 quick little legs. But the real magic isn't what you see on the surface. It's what they build underground. Under your feet, ants are running entire underground cities, not just random tunnels, real cities. They have special rooms for their babies, storage rooms for food, areas for trash, and even ventilation systems that keep the whole place cool and fresh. And depending on the species, one colony can have a few hundred ants, or several million, working together like one giant brain. Here's something crazy most people don't know. Some ants can actually farm, not crops, but other insects. They take care of tiny bugs called aphids. The ants protect them from danger, move them to fresh plants so they can eat better, and basically watch over them like tiny cows. And in return, the aphids make a sweet liquid called honeydew, which the ants drink. So, yeah, ants were farming long before humans even existed. And their teamwork? It's all based on smell. Ants communicate using chemicals called pheromones. When one ant finds food, it leaves a scent trail on the ground. Other ants follow that trail, and suddenly you've got a busy ant highway going back and forth across your garden. Their lifespans are wild too. Worker ants can live for months or even a few years. But queen ants, some can live up to 30 years, longer than most dogs. And here's the part that blows people's minds. Ants can lift 10 to 50 times their own body weight. If you could do that, you'd be able to lift a whole car like it was nothing. Let's talk about the animal that basically built your entire garden: earthworms. Most garden worms are about the length of your hand, maybe 10 to 30 centimeters long. They're usually pink or reddish-brown, with soft, smooth bodies made of lots of tiny segments. Charles Darwin, yes, the famous scientist, studied earthworms for 39 years, and he said they're one of the most important animals on Earth. Sounds crazy, but he was right. Earthworms literally eat soil. They swallow dirt, pull out all the nutrients inside, and then poop out something called castings, which is basically super fertilizer for your plants. One earthworm can process tons of soil in its lifetime. But that's not all they do. As they move through the ground, they make little tunnels everywhere. These tunnels let air and water reach plant roots. Without earthworms, the soil in your garden would get hard, sticky, and almost dead. Plants wouldn't grow the same way at all. So how do earthworms even move underground if they don't have legs? They use two kinds of muscles. One set makes their body long and skinny so they can slide forward. Then the other set makes their body short and thick so they can hold on to the soil. They switch between these two motions over and over, kind of like doing a slow, stretchy dance through the dirt. Earthworms can actually live a long time, around 4 to 8 years in the wild, and some species even longer. Earthworms breathe through their skin. They don't have lungs like we do. Oxygen just slips through their moist skin and into their blood. That's why worms die if they dry out. No moisture means no breathing. A healthy garden can have up to 1.75 million earthworms per acre. And if you have earthworms, your soil is alive. If you don't, something's wrong. Now let's meet the spider that doesn't build webs. It hunts. Jumping spiders are tiny, usually between 5 and 15 millimeters long. They're compact, fuzzy, and have 8 eyes. But 2 of those eyes are massive, forward-facing, and give them the best vision of any spider. And they use that vision to hunt. Jumping spiders don't build webs to catch food. They stalk their prey the way a cat does. They sneak up slowly, measure the distance, and then boom, they leap. They can jump up to 50 times their own body length. If humans could do that, you'd be jumping across an entire football field in one go. But the coolest thing about them? They're curious. Most spiders run away the moment they see you. Jumping spiders don't. If you get close, they often turn and look straight at you, like they're studying your face. Scientists have actually tested how smart jumping spiders are, and the results are crazy. They put the spiders in little obstacle courses where the prey was visible, but the straight path to get it was blocked. Most insects get confused at that point because if they can't walk directly toward the food, they just give up. But jumping spiders don't. They stare at the prey for a moment, almost like they're thinking about what to do. Then they do something wild. They turn around and walk the opposite direction, away from the prey, because they know that's the only way to get around the obstacle. Even when the prey goes out of sight for a few seconds, the spider doesn't forget. It follows the detour, pops out on the other side, and ambushes the prey perfectly. That means they're not just reacting like, I see food, I move. They're actually planning a route in their tiny little spider brains. For something so small, that's unbelievable. Jumping spiders don't live very long, usually about 1 year. But in that 1 year, they see the world in a way we can't. They have amazing color vision, better than most animals their size. They can see full color, plus ultraviolet light, which humans can't see at all. That helps them spot danger, find food, and choose mates. So next time you see a tiny, fuzzy spider with big round eyes staring at you in your garden, don't freak out. It's just a jumping spider. And honestly, it's probably just trying to figure out what you are. Here's a weird question. How do you move if you don't have any legs at all? Slugs solve that problem in their own way. Slugs are soft, squishy animals, usually 2 to 10 centimeters long, and they're basically snails without shells. They can be gray, brown, black, or even bright orange. To move, they use one big muscular foot on their belly that pushes them forward in tiny waves. But the real secret is the special mucus they release as they crawl. This slime is both slippery and strong, which lets them glide smoothly over rough surfaces without getting hurt. It's so protective that a slug can even crawl across a razor blade safely. It also lets them stick to walls and leaves and even hang upside down. That shiny trail they leave behind? That's the super slime doing all the work. So why do slugs mostly come out at night? Because they don't have a shell to protect them from the sun. If they stay out too long during the day, they dry out. That's why they hide under leaves, rocks, or inside the soil when the sun is up. But when night comes and the air gets cool and wet, that's their moment. They crawl out to eat. And that shiny slime trail you see on the ground in the morning? That's basically their footsteps from the night before. Slugs can live anywhere from 1 to 6 years depending on the species. And here's the wild part. Slugs have thousands of tiny teeth. They use a special tongue called a radula that's covered in rows of microscopic teeth, like a tiny cheese grater. They use it to scrape and shred plant leaves. Gardeners can't stand them because they chew holes in plants, but in nature, slugs are actually helpful. They break down dead leaves and old plants, turning them into healthy soil. As you guys already know, snails are basically slugs that carry a little house on their back. But that tiny house changes everything. Most garden snails are only about 2 to 4 centimeters long, and their shells can be brown, yellow, or striped. That shell is made of calcium carbonate, and the snail actually builds it itself, adding new layers as it grows. It's like carrying your own armor. The shell keeps predators away, keeps the snail from drying out, and even gives it a safe place to hide during bad weather. When things get too hot, too cold, or too dry, a snail can pull its whole body inside the shell and seal the entrance with a dried layer of mucus called an epiphragm, basically a little door. They can stay like that for months, just waiting for the world outside to get better. Some snails have even survived like this for up to 3 years. So why do snails suddenly appear everywhere when it rains? Because they need moisture to move. Their slime dries out fast in dry air, making it hard for them to crawl. But when it rains, the ground is wet, the air is humid, and everything is slippery. Perfect conditions for snails to travel, explore, and eat. The average garden snail crawls at about 0.03 miles per hour. That's 0.048 kilometers per hour. At that speed, it would take a snail more than 21 hours just to travel 1 mile. You could walk that distance, take a nap, and come back, and the snail would still be on the road. Even though they move slowly, snails actually live a pretty long time. In the wild, garden snails can live for about 2 to 7 years. Some can live even longer if they're kept safe in captivity. But here's the shocking part. Snails have around 14,000 tiny teeth. Just like slugs, they use a special tongue called a radula that's covered in tiny rows of teeth. They use it to scrape food like algae, fungi, and plants. Snails aren't trying to be fast. Their goal isn't to win races, but to survive. And moving slowly, staying hidden, and taking life one tiny step at a time has worked for them for millions of years. For years, people said millipedes don't actually have 1,000 legs. And that was true. Most millipedes only have somewhere between 80 and 400 legs. But everything changed in 2021 when scientists found a new species in Australia with 1,306 legs, making it the first real millipede to live up to its name. Millipedes might look a little creepy at first, but they're actually super helpful. They move slowly through your garden, eating dead leaves, rotting wood, and old plant material. Basically, they're part of nature's cleanup team, helping break down all that old stuff and turning it back into healthy soil, just like some of the other tiny creatures we already talked about. And even though they look long and worm-like, millipedes have a great defense trick. When something scares them, they curl up into a tight little spiral. That way, their soft belly is hidden and only their hard outer shell is showing. Some millipedes even release a smelly chemical to warn predators to stay away. It's not dangerous to humans, but it can irritate your skin if you pick them up. Millipedes can live anywhere from 2 to 7 years, and some big ones live even longer. And here's the crazy part. Millipedes are ancient. Fossils show they've been on land for more than 400 million years, making them some of the very first animals to ever leave the ocean and colonize land. But even with all that history, they're completely harmless. They don't bite and they don't sting. They just want to quietly munch on dead leaves and help the soil.
Now let's talk about the millipede's scary cousin, the centipede. Centipedes are nothing like millipedes. Instead of being slow, gentle cleaners, these guys are fast, aggressive predators. Most garden centipedes are between 2 and 10 centimeters long, and they're usually yellowish-brown or reddish with long, flat bodies. And here's the big difference. They only have one pair of legs per body segment, which makes them move like lightning. Some centipedes can sprint up to 40 centimeters per second. That's insanely fast for something so small. Centipedes spend most their lives hunting. They go after spiders, insects, worms, and sometimes even other centipedes. Their first pair of legs is modified into special claws called forcipules, which work like venomous fangs. They grab their prey, inject venom, and eat it while it's still alive. Don't worry, their venom isn't strong enough to seriously hurt humans. But the bigger species can give you a bite that feels a lot like a bee sting. So, yeah, centipedes might be tiny, but they're definitely one of the toughest hunters in your garden. So why don't you see centipedes very often? Because they're super shy and only come out at night. During the day, they hide under rocks, logs, and piles of leaves. When the sun goes down, that's when they start hunting. But if you get too close or lift something they're hiding under, they disappear instantly. They're that fast. Centipedes can live for 3 to 7 years depending on the species. And here's a surprising fact. Centipedes are always born with an odd number of leg pairs. Never even. Scientists have no idea why. It's just one of nature's strange rules. So, if you spot one in your garden, don't bother it. It's not trying to scare you. It's actually helping you by eating pests. Everyone loves ladybugs. They're cute, colorful, and easy to spot. But most people don't realize why gardeners treat them like tiny superheroes. Ladybugs, also called ladybirds, are really small beetles, only about 5 to 10 millimeters long. They're round, bright red or orange, and covered in little black spots. But behind that cute look, they're serious hunters. One ladybug can eat up to 5,000 aphids in its lifetime. Aphids are tiny bugs that suck the juice out of plants and slowly kill them. So when a ladybug shows up, it's like nature sending backup to protect your garden. And here's something most people never notice. Those bright red and black colors aren't just pretty. They're a warning sign. It's called aposematism, which basically means, "Don't eat me, I taste awful." And it's true. When a ladybug feels threatened, it squeezes out a yellow, bad-smelling liquid from its legs. After one taste, birds quickly learn to leave ladybugs alone. Ladybugs hunt by walking slowly across leaves and stems, searching for aphids. And when they spot one, they grab it with their tiny jaws and eat it right away. It's simple, but it works, and they almost never miss. Even though they're small, ladybugs are tough. They can live for about 1 to 2 years in the wild, which is pretty long for an insect. And they have a cool trick for staying safe. When they feel threatened, they tuck in their legs and antennae and lie completely still, pretending to be dead, which makes most predators lose interest and leave them alone. So if you have ladybugs in your garden, you're lucky. They're free pest control that never takes a day off. Now, since we just talked about ladybugs, let's look at the tiny insects they love to hunt. Aphids. These bugs are super small, usually less than 3 millimeters long, and most of the time they're green. But depending on the species, they can also be yellow, black, brown, or even pink. They have soft, pear-shaped bodies, long antennae, and 2 tiny tube-like bumps sticking out of their backs. You'll almost always find aphids hiding under leaves, and there's a reason for that. It's the safest spot they can find. Under a leaf, they stay hidden from predators, protected from rain, and shaded from the sun. And as you guys already know, that's also where they eat. Aphids use needle-thin mouthparts to poke into the leaf and drink plant sap like it's a juice box, which ends up killing the plant. But the scariest thing about aphids isn't how they eat. It's how fast they multiply. Most aphids are female, and they don't even need a male to make babies. They clone themselves through something called parthenogenesis, which is basically a type of asexual reproduction. One aphid can have up to 12 babies a day. That means in just a few weeks, a single aphid can turn into a whole army. And remember those ants we talked about earlier? Ants protect aphids from predators because aphids produce honeydew, a sugary liquid that ants love. It's a symbiotic relationship. The aphids get protection. The ants get food. Aphids don't live very long, usually only 2 to 4 weeks. But in that short time, they can cause a ton of damage to plants. And here's the part that blows people's minds. Aphids are actually born pregnant. That means when a female aphid is born, she already has babies growing inside her. And those babies have babies inside them. This is called telescoping generations, and it's the reason their population can explode in just a few days. So yeah, aphids can be a gardener's worst nightmare, but they're also an important part of the garden food chain. Ladybugs, lacewings, and other helpful insects depend on them for food. Now let's meet an insect that can jump so high it almost doesn't seem real. The leafhopper. Leafhoppers are tiny, only about 3 to 10 millimeters long, and they come in bright colors like green, yellow, red, and even blue. Their bodies are shaped like a little wedge, with big eyes and short antennae. When threatened, leafhoppers don't fly. They jump. They have powerful hind legs that catapult them into the air at speeds of up to 2 meters per second. That's faster than most insects can fly. If a human could jump like a leafhopper, you'd be able to leap over a 60-story building. You'll usually find them sitting on plant stems because, just like aphids, they drink plant sap. They use needle-like mouthparts to tap into the plant and sip the liquid inside, and by sticking to the stems, they stay hidden from predators. Leafhoppers are so tiny and so quick that most people don't even know they're there. But if you ever brush against a plant and see a bunch of tiny, colorful bugs jumping away like popcorn, those are leafhoppers. They don't live very long, only about 2 to 3 months,
which is super short compared to many of the other animals we've talked about in this video. But even though they're small, they can cause big problems. As leafhoppers move from plant to plant and drink sap, they can accidentally carry diseases with them. They spread viruses and bacteria the same way mosquitoes spread sickness between animals. That's why farmers consider them serious pests. One or two leafhoppers won't hurt anything, but if there are hundreds of them, they can weaken plants and spread diseases fast. Adult lacewings look gentle and harmless. They're small, bright green insects with soft, see-through wings, usually around 10 to 15 millimeters long. Honestly, they look like something out of a fairy garden, but they're babies. Whole different story. Lacewing larvae are tiny, only about 5 to 10 millimeters long, but they look like little alligators with giant curved jaws. They seriously look like tiny dragons, and they hunt like dragons too. Lacewing larvae go after aphids, mites, caterpillars, basically anything soft enough to bite. When they catch an aphid, they clamp down with those big jaws, inject a digestive enzyme, and then suck out everything inside like a juice pouch. It's brutal, it's efficient, and it makes them one of the best natural pest controllers in your entire garden. A single lacewing larva can eat up to 200 aphids in just 1 week, which is why gardeners absolutely love them. They're like tiny pest-eating machines that never take a break, just like many other insects we've seen in this video. And some lacewing larvae even take things to the next level. They stick the empty shells of the bugs they've eaten onto their backs as camouflage. So they literally walk around covered in dead aphids, making it super hard for predators to spot them. They live like this for about 2 to 3 weeks before they build a cocoon, pupate, and finally transform into those gentle-looking adult lacewings you see on flowers. Here's the surprising part. Lacewing larvae are so good at clearing out pests that people actually buy them. Farmers and gardeners order containers of these little predators online and release them into their gardens to protect their plants naturally.
Finally, let's talk about the insect that's pretending to be something it's not. Hoverflies. Hoverflies are tiny flies, usually about 5 to 15 millimeters long, and the funny thing is, they look just like bees. They've got the same yellow and black stripes. They buzz around flowers, and from a distance, you'd probably think they could sting you. But they can't. They're not bees at all. They're just harmless flies. This look-alike trick has a name: Bayesian mimicry. Hoverflies copied the bee outfit because most predators don't want to mess with bees. It's basically their way of saying, "Hey, don't eat me, I'm dangerous," even though they're totally harmless. But the coolest thing about hoverflies is how they fly. They can stay perfectly still in midair, like a tiny drone just hanging there. They can fly backwards, sideways, and even upside down. No other insect can control its flight the way a hoverfly can. Hoverflies aren't just cool flyers. They're also really helpful in your garden. They feed on nectar and pollen, just like bees, and while they move from flower to flower, they accidentally carry pollen with them. That makes them great pollinators. And their babies? They're even more impressive. Hoverfly larvae eat aphids, tons of them. Just like ladybugs and lacewings, they're natural pest fighters. One hoverfly larva can eat around 400 aphids before it turns into an adult. Adult hoverflies only live for about 2 to 4 weeks, but they make a huge impact during that time. Here's the surprising part. Hoverflies are some of the most important pollinators on the planet, right after bees. In some places, they even pollinate more plants than bees do. Without them, lots of flowers and crops would struggle to grow. So The next time you see something that looks like a tiny bee hovering in one spot above your flowers, look twice. It might actually be a hoverfly, and it's helping your garden more than you realize. So, there you have it. 15 tiny animals living in your garden that you never knew about. Springtails launching themselves like rockets, ants farming aphids, jumping spiders watching you with curiosity, centipedes hunting in the darkness, lacewing larvae devouring pests by the hundreds. Your garden isn't just dirt and plants, it's an entire ecosystem, a hidden world of hunters, builders, and survivors, a battlefield where life and death play out every single day on a scale so small, most people never notice. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these animals surprised you the most? Have you ever seen any of them in your garden? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. And thank you for watching. Now go outside and see how many of these tiny animals you can find.